Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Terry, how are you?
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Paul, for being here.
No, you're welcome. And sorry about that. I had to restart my computer. I wasn't getting any audio coming through. So.
Oh, okay. No, fully understand from based on what I had, the problems I had. So your issue, I had a major issue, and I was actually very concerned that we had to end the webinar early and therefore restart again tomorrow, maybe. So yeah, that was actually playing on my mind. So yeah, we'll get straight into it. So Paul, I did mention that you've been with me for I think 6 to 7 months now. So would that be correct, Paul?
That's correct, yeah. So I started in November last year and pretty much started just before Christmas.
Yep, okay. Can I just check that everybody can hear Paul loud and clear before I continue on? Or yeses. And Paul, just letting you know, there's a lot of happy birthday messages from everybody in the group at the moment.
Great, thank you everybody, appreciate it.
So Paul, first question, I know you're from Queensland in Brisbane. What is it that you actually do for a living?
So I'm basically a commercial operations manager for a gas transportation company. So we basically transport gas from the fields to the major cities, power stations, and large industry. Okay,
cool. And in terms of investing and trading, is this sort of when you started with me? Were you pretty much a newbie into the game, or were you doing this before?
No, I was basically not trading when I started with you, Terry, but I guess a little bit of my background was that I have tried in the past and probably fair to say failed miserably. I've wiped out an account once.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to the stage where I thought, well, obviously it wasn't for me. So I then decided to spend a few $1,000s and have people do it for me, which still resulted in no results. So, yeah. Hasn't been to be honest, when I spoke to you first about this, I had reservations because I'd been through it a few times and it just hadn't worked. But, no, obviously it's been a great outcome since then. So
yeah, awesome. And when you say you wiped out, would you mind to share, I guess the account size that you talked about being wiped out?
Yeah, sure. I had about 50,000. I was doing technical trading through some training that I'd had, and I was probably a bit too keen and eager. I was playing 3 markets in one day and not really sleeping that well, and it just become all too much. And it was leveraged as well, so it didn't help.
Okay. And when you say leverage, what type of leverage was it? Was it CFDs or options or forex? What was that?
Yeah, it was. I was doing mini warrants and I was doing CFD.
Wow. Okay. And how long did that experience last for?
I did that for nearly, I'd say about 8 or 9 months before I just, obviously ran out and just said that's enough. So it was basically just kept feeding it, which didn't help. So.
Yep. And in terms of timeline wise, how long ago was that though?
Oh, that was 2009.
Yep. Okay. Oh, so you've sort of been vacant from the market for about what I'd say. From 2009 basically till now, about 8, 9 years now. Would that be right? Until we Oh wow. Okay. So thank you for your trust to get back into the market.
Yeah. Like I said, it was it's something I've always enjoyed doing. Is when you're not getting the results, it's quite hard, especially when you're sort of passionate about what you're doing. But I guess that's all the past now. Like I said, I found you, Terry, and it's a different story.
Okay, and compared to say, when you say it's a different story, compared to say your past experience to the Blueprint program, what is the main difference that you're finding that made it sort of switch from being very unprofitable, wiping out accounts, to what you're doing now? What was the main difference that you find?
In all honesty, I'd say it's your rules. It's knowing when to get in, knowing when to get out, reading the market. It's, when it's technical analysis, it's not really, to me, it didn't seem like it tells you the full picture, where with, the Freedom Trader Blueprint is that, you're seeing it all, you're keeping an eye on things. And I think the biggest one is the risk management that goes with that. You're not putting in large amounts of money into one trade alone. It's multiple, it's diverse, so it works quite well.
Yeah, Okay, and compared to, say, because I know you mentioned you were not, it wasn't a great experience in terms of trading three markets, but also I think you mentioned a bit of lack of sleep as well, because you're trading multiple markets. So would you say Freedom Trader Blueprint now allows you to sleep well when you've got positions
Yeah,
on?
no, definitely. And the confidence knowing you can just we'll get into that, but I get up at 5 in the morning, do my thing, and it's pretty much that's about it. I'm not spending 5 or 6 hours a day on it. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, what I might do, Paul, I'm going to bring up your the spreadsheet that you sent me. But what I have done is I've just for privacy issues, I've blacked out the dollar figures. So I'll bring it up now, so at least our members are aware of what's actually possible in the last 7 months that you've been with Blueprint. So on the screen now, you'll see this is Paul's the completed investments or exited portfolio that he's shown. And like you said, it's been 7 months, so it has been, from what I saw, like when I got this, I was like, wow, this is actually quite amazing. And if I look at, if you look at the the companies that Paul has, the Apples, the Allegans, the AIGs, so then again, they're not the small companies or the major ones. Means it really does show that you don't need to take on board big risks to make the the returns that you want. It's more the safety aspect. And if I'm looking at the the ROI and the annualized ROIs on these two, so you can see how basically from 7, 9, 6, and the number of days average, I think it was just over about a monthish that Paul's holding his investments for. Paul, as I'm speaking, welcome to butt in and add anything else you want me to add in. So yeah, what it is, it's basically going from 7, 9, 6, 12, 4. Once in a while, not very much, which is fine as well, because it's just sticking with the rules and selling out and going back into cash, which is perfectly fine. If you look at Paul's position size, also very risk managed, from 1.5, 1 to 1.5, 2, at the most at 3, I believe, 3.5 that I see here. So in terms of risk management, the risk that he's taking to make these returns are low, and this is the first, besides just showing you the gains that Paul is making, here's there are negatives as well. So it's not all all 100% profit, and there's no system on the planet that is 100% foolproof. So just please be aware of that. Minus 0.5, which is hardly anything really. Along the way, Paul has picked up dividends for stocks that he holds a little bit longer, and sometimes you just buy it at the right time. We don't. With Blueprint, we've never looked for dividends. For me, dividends is just like cherry on the top. We look for more of the capital growth and buy them, not for the dividends at all. And here's some, as you can see how it's the losses that Paul is making, they are quite small, from minus 1.75, minus half, 1, minus 1, another minus 2, and of course a number of double digits along the way. And some of them that you'll find also is that he's also adding on, that you may have noticed, he's taking on one position and then adding on another position, maybe a month down the track, like for example Qualcomm right here. So therefore, by the time that Paul sells it out on both positions, hardly any profit on, say, the first position, but ends up buying it much cheaper on the second position. And by the time he exits it out, both positions not only become profitable, but the second one becomes far more profitable than the first, because it did drop, but had the discipline to take on board another position as well. Even though sometimes you go, crap, I've lost money on the first one, should I buy another one? And of course, with buying the second one, it just works out. And Sanofi is another example where there's multiple positions taken on board. Not a lot of profit, however, ends up being still a profit is a profit in the end. And if I look at the overall, the summary of things, what worked out on average with all the trades or investments that Paul has made so far in the last 7 months, the ones that have been closed, is 4.6%. So basically every $10,000 investment is $460 worth of capital gain that's coming out of it, including dividends. Total investments made is 74, out of it 65, and even though there's 9 out of the 74 that didn't go according to plan, that were extremely tiny losses, the win rate is sitting at just below 87%, annualized at 84%, number of days just over a month. So in terms of the it's really these results are very in line with our students, which is really good to see. And I think, Paul, we had a good chat, Paul. How how you're talking about the average return. I think it was you had a query about were you selling a little bit too early? And I think just from looking at your averages, you may be. So would that be right to say, Paul, after our chat?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was the thing we're chatting about. Because I'm finding that just the buying in signal, it's pretty easy to read. For me, the getting out, it's just, sometimes I'm feeling like I get the crossover, or it's just before I get. And then, as I've mentioned, a few of them have continued to run up, and obviously I've missed out. But like I said, I'd like to probably change my strategy on what I do there. So I'm still, and I guess that's something I'd like to share. It's something I'm still learning. It's only been 6 months. That this, what you do, Terry, with these mentoring and fortnightly things is a great opportunity to come down and learn, where it is where we're going wrong, or where it should be that we could be looking at to improve.
Yeah. I mean, just from because I'm seeing, of course, our on a global picture of not only our returns, but I'm seeing a number of our student results as well. So therefore, from that point of view, just from looking at the just below 5 on average, which is, by the way, a great return for a 38-day hold on average. However, to simply improve that is to really, making sure that the crossovers occur before, on the buy side as well as the sell side. So that maximizes basically maximizes the potential of that profit that since you're already in there, and not prematurely selling out of it when it could run up for another, couple of percentage points in a couple of days. And I think if you do that, you're going to find over time this is going to improve quite dramatically as well. So it's just having that wherewithal to stick by it and not have it sort of fear, say, oh, I've got a profit and I really don't want to lose it, so I lock in and I sell out prematurely.
No, thanks for that.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the main lessons that I think we can all take of as well. But of course, we're all learning as well, and it's good to always measure results and look back and see could I have improved it even further, and sometimes you definitely can. At times, the other times you might say, oh, I've maximized and that's it. So Blueprint, by the way, which I did mention to Paul, Blueprint is not there to buy at the very lows and sell at the very top. It will never happen. The reason being is we always want confirmation. So we want confirmation at the bottom. So if we see a stock that drops dramatically, and we will never want to catch a falling knife, so we just wait for the drop to continually happen. The more, the better. And then we want a confirmation of a crossover, which means that it's now stopping in terms of drop wise, and there is some fund management movement or a lot of demand that now creates the crossover on the STO and the RSI. Therefore, there's more people demanding the stock. Therefore, the price reverses itself. And same thing on the sell side, we'll never sell at the very top because we don't know where the top will be. So therefore, we allow it to continually happen. And the reason why we use the crossover again, on RSI and STO, is because when the crossover occurs, it shows that now there is now going to be more supply flooding the market in terms of stock, and there's lesser demand. Therefore, the price now drops, and it's confirmed that the move has, in most cases, about 80%. The move has completed, and there's really not much more to gain out of holding the stock. Therefore, we sell out and we lock in our profit. So we're trying to get that middle, the major, I'll probably say about 90% of the middle section, from the moment that we want to buy to the moment that we sell. It's that 90% of the entire move, of that 1.5 month move. So that's where Blueprint really excels in terms of potential wise. So hopefully everybody got that, and I haven't confused everybody. So cool. Just from looking at these, I just want to get someone's your feedback. Just from looking at the results of Paul, would you be happy with these type of results, for example, if this was your trading diary on the completed investments? Yep, awesome. Yeah, see, Paul, you're you know how we had a chat and you were not extremely happy about the results. I'm just letting you know that everybody is delighted. Absolutely, yes. Would be very happy. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Just letting you know that don't be too hard on yourself, Paul.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So and Paul, by the way, this is why I asked, because Paul wasn't, obviously he can definitely can improve on that. However, he wasn't extremely excited because, could he do better? Yes, he can. But the results, when I saw it, my first thing is like, wow, I really want to interview Paul, because they are incredible results, especially for 6 to 7 months in the market so far, and being able to step out from, which I didn't know about in the prior to today, being able to step out of the 8 years ago or 7, 8 years ago, where he had a I guess a traumatic experience in the markets, learning from something that just didn't work, blew an account, and now being able to step back in and having the courage to retry the whole thing, and now having a system that does just work for him as well. One thing I also want to mention as well is, people say, okay, these are the closed off investments, and that's great, but of course our system, by the way, is meant to have some people will definitely have a open portfolio where you'll still see a lot of losses, and that's just letting you know that it's actually perfectly okay. The reason why you're sort of seeing a ratio, sort of a high ratio of losses on the current account compared to losses compared to gains on the current account is because you've got to remember what Paul has done is he's basically, what you'll be doing is you are now crystallizing all your profits. So if you've crystallized all your profits, there is no way that your current portfolio will not have more losses than current gains, and you just got to be okay with that. Because if you're not happy or okay with that, what that means is you start getting fearful that you're doing something extremely wrong, but you're not, because the current account will always have usually more losses than gains, because we are patient enough to just sit out there and just wait for those to turn good, because they are. Because in the end, we have bought great companies. If we're buying speculative mining stocks, then there's a problem. But if we know for a fact that we're buying the Coca-Colas, the Pepsis, the Procter & Gambles, which they haven't all worked out straight away, but that's okay, because in the meantime, while we're waiting, we get paid dividends. But of course, we don't invest for the dividends. But while we're waiting, we still do get the dividends, and we're just waiting, and the patience of just waiting and allowing that to eventually become the crystallized profit and ends up being on this side of the ledger. So I just want to make that clear as well, because I know some people, when you see your losses on the current account and you start getting fearful, I want to make sure that you alleviate that fear, because that will hinder your performance going forward. So thanks, Paul, for your shares. I just want to say congratulations. This is actually an awesome result, and keep up the good work. And I really think that you can continue to improve this as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Terry.
Okay, Paul, the other thing, I'll continue on with a couple more questions before we end off. Can I just ask, what would your typical day look like right now, and how much do you actually spend, doing this?
Yep. So I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning. I've got my stocks that I'm looking to buy or looking to sell out of, and then I use that hour of the last market. Sorry, the market's last hour of open. During that time, I just check what I'm actually holding, just seeing if, checking for the buy or the sells. And then about twice a week, I spend about an hour just going through my own watch list. So I've got my own sort of watch list I've just created over the time, and I'm just basically making sure there's no opportunities coming up.
Awesome. So in actual fact, in terms of total hours per week, what would you say you're spending right now?
So it'd be 5 days, about 7.
Let's say so 7 hours in a week, so roughly about an average of an hour a day. Would that be right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So in terms of impact wise, how are you? I know you're over time you're scaling up as well. So how are you seeing what you've achieved so far? How are you seeing what you'll be doing in terms of your financial future for your family? How is this going to help?
Yeah, sure, Terry. So you're right. So basically, I started off very small after, I guess, the past, and then I've just slowly been sort of scaling up. Now it's every month I put a percentage of my pay in, so just trying to keep in the account. But yeah, for the long term, I definitely see this as something as I would like to replace my income, something where it's just work wherever I want to around the world, and yeah, I'm probably a couple of years away from that still, but that's my mission. So.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, and then please take note of what Paul just said. He said that he's adding, he's scaling up, but at the same time, almost I'd probably say almost like a bit of a savings plan where rather than having cash that after you paid off your expenses that just goes into, say, sitting in a bank account doing nothing and earning 2% per annum, he's actually putting into a higher type portfolio that scaling up with the help of capital gains, but at the same time, like a savings plan, and scaling up with more pay or more income coming through the doors as well. But at the same time, being able to do it safely as well. Preservation of capital. So that is a good takeaway out of that, what he just said. Paul, in terms of takeaway lessons, 1 to 3 takeaway lessons and actions that if you can share with our inner circle group, that's been vital to the success you've had so far.
Definitely, Terry. So obviously the first one, pretty much we all do the same, but it's following the rules. It's pretty big. Like, I think when I first started out, I sort of was preempting the buys and the sells. So I guess that's where probably those first few trades were sort of like no profit or just break evens. But that's, again, it was recognizing what I was doing, and then it's definitely played out better now. Second one is patience, and it's not really a virtue of mine. But it has proven to me back in the early days that it's trying to rush things, it doesn't turn out well. So just times like we are right now, Terry, just basically sitting on the fence, just waiting. So I think that's probably been my second one. And actually the third one, you brought it up, was I know with something we discussed, was about just being comfortable with having the portfolio value fluctuate as I'm accumulating undervalued stocks in different sectors.
Yes.
Because I know that questions. It's like you're getting these wins, but you're seeing your entire portfolio dropping. But but then I guess with sector rotation, that's something obviously that'll turn around and the profits will be there. So.
Yeah, correct. And it will get harder as you scale, because initially when you have a small portfolio, say it's a $10,000-$20,000 portfolio, you won't see in terms of percentage-wise it might, but in terms of dollar-wise, it doesn't really because we're all still working, so therefore dollar-wise it just doesn't seem that much. But as you scale up and the portfolio becomes 5 digits and you go into the 6 digits, and eventually hopefully 7 digits, you will see your portfolio, even say $1 million portfolio, right? Every say 2%, or even on fluctuations of exchange rates as well as fluctuations of the portfolio, every 2 or 3% means $20,000-$30,000. And for a person, if you've just started, it's actually extremely hard, because it literally means that potentially if you're and this is why I always say use percentages and not dollar amounts, because for someone who just comes in and they throw in, they begin say with $1 million, and all of a sudden their portfolio drops by 2 or 3%, which just say 3% means it's $30,000, and our hindbrain just goes into oh great, it's $30,000. First things first is what did I possibly lose in terms of buying or purchasing power? In other words, 30,000, a car, for example, a decent sized car, and that plays with your mind, and this gets harder because as your portfolio grows and grows, you'll find that these fluctuations, the dollar amounts, especially the dollar amounts, it's going to get larger and larger, and that's why training yourself on a smaller account and then scaling up over time is actually a much big. It's a better idea.
Yeah, I agree with that, Terry.
Yeah. And Paul, can I ask, just from your experience so far, would you recommend Blueprint and also Inner Circle to other people?
Definitely, mate. No, like I said, for me, it's been like single-handedly, it's given me the knowledge and confidence to trade again, and it's got proven success. And then in the Inner Circle side, mate, it's it's got a great community, but it's also a great way to hone your new skills and get insights in the market and the rest as well. So no, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you, Paul, for your shares. Paul, any final things that you want to say or share with the group?
Actually, I do have one question for you, Terry. Just had another one pop in my head a couple of days ago. In the scenario where we've bought in 5 times into a stock, so we've just been accumulating as a shopping.
Mm-hmm.
What's your strategy in that? So do you sell off like one trade at a time, or do you wait for a particular price you're looking at the market and then we'll sell the whole 5 positions at once?
Oh, okay. Yeah. For me, I've always basically I scale in, but when I'm ready to sell, I sell all in one go, and I pretty much let go of it. So 5 positions. A classic example would be something like Wells Fargo or Tiva, for example. And even though, yeah, they're sitting on losses, it's far, as a stock, it's actually far too cheap. So I'm waiting for valuation to pop back up for the company to right itself or fix itself up. And then by the time I sell, hopefully, all 5 positions will be profitable. If not, worst case, half are profitable, half aren't, and they sort of balance out. But I will get rid of it all in one go.
Okay, that's good to know, because I wasn't sure, because I think it's something I did with my other trades there too. I was selling one position at a time. Not sure if that was the right thing to do. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's 2 trains for, there's people that, sort of scale in and then they scale up. But for me, because we have our system, our RSI and our STO, which is actually quite accurate. So for you to sort of, once it sort of does a crossover and you just now start scaling out, the question then becomes, when you scale out, how do you scale out? Do you scale out one? I know you're going to scale out one at a time, but then do you scale out one position a day, or do you scale out one position now and then one position a week later or something? So therefore, now the answer, it sort of makes it even harder for you to decide as the price starts dropping. And then if it drops too much, then what are you going to do? Are you going to now hold it? So it starts creating more complexity into the actual equation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we just sell out in one go.
Yep. No, thanks, Terry.
Yeah, no worries. Paul, I'm just going to just check. There's a number of, I think there's a couple of things that I'm just going to see if there's any comments as we've been talking. Okay, Robert's just said, yeah, very similar to mine over the same period. Tony says, yeah, it makes sense and also good to know. A number of thank yous for sharing, Paul. And Greg's got a good summary. The takeaway 3 for Paul: not to be fearful of poor performing stocks that sort of languish. And a lot of great for Jerry said thank yous. Yeah, Paul, just want to say thank you again for your time, especially in this busy period of your life in general. So it's just good to see, not only your results, but that you're doing well and being able to help out the community and share as well. So thank you again.
No, you're welcome, and thanks for having me on the hot seat.
No, it's awesome. Thanks, Paul, as usual.
All right, thanks, Terry.
Thank you.